series of local assets and thinking, how can these be kind of, you know, spliced up and turned into assets for speculation on the global markets? You're basically doing the opposite and saying, how can we make sure that, without being kind of super insular and saying we have nothing to do with the towns around us, whatever, you're just saying, how can we best use those assets to ensure that wealth is retained and generated within the local area?
Yeah, I mean, it's classic Pareto improvement.
Yeah.
For the same amount of productivity, we're getting greater social benefit.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. So it's classic that. We're just trying to ensure that what's being done economically in that place is not extracted, is not financialised, it actually has real live social benefits.
Yeah.
It's not difficult.
No, it's amazing. It feels like a revolutionary idea. It tells you where we've got to as a society.
Yeah.
In many ways, it feels like it's such an out there model, and it seems so exciting. Whereas, you know, it should just be sort of common sense in many ways.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then it's interesting when organisations on the think tank world, as you probably are aware, is like a ferrets in a sack. And obviously for many years we have always been quite steadfast in where we stand as a charity and our progressive economics. We've never moved. We've been doing this for a long time. Obviously you're aware of mood music and you try to work with it. We've never moved. There's been a larger coterie of think tanks that are basically toadying to the prevailing agenda, which we never have. We do a bit, but not as much as they have. And so they've got a bit irked and a bit annoyed because obviously us being a fairly significant sized think tank and, you know, and doing our stuff, we've always been seen as marginal to the urban agenda of the last 10 years or the growth agenda. We've always been saying things that are a bit odd, that doesn't fit into the buckets that they have. But so they've been some of them have been quite antagonistic towards us, which just means that we're onto something. And also some of the arguments they used show you how far their head has just went somewhere weird. They call themselves economists, but actually don't understand things like Pareto improvement, multipliers, Keynesianism, what a market's for. They've kind of forgotten all that stuff.
As you said before, the degree to which like neoliberal governance has restructured not just kind of institutions and policies, but whole ways of thinking. Will Davies writes about this really well.
Surely,
So, you know, that kind of. You know, we've colonised our minds, right? And you see that in terms of a lot of these think tank types who you begin having any kind of questions of you know, as you said, kind of just what are markets for? Like, you know, let's go back to first principles. And what are we aiming to achieve here? And it's as if you've punched them in the face because they're sort of like, you know.
Well, when I spoke with Aditya, you know, when we did the Guardian, and we had this kind of debate as well because, like, Aditya. Great, brilliant, you know, gets it, is not part of that work, but actually I was saying to him, some of his consciousness was almost like he'd consciously stepped out of it, but actually for me some of the way he was his thinking was actually showing that he was a product of it, even though he wasn't of that ideologically. So he kind of thought there had to be some kind of major trauma or trigger for this to happen. As if it doesn't have the people being clever enough to do this.
Right, exactly.
Or people's motivation must have been driven by hardship. Well, not necessarily, but I think it's a good idea. And he wanted to personify it almost and create a story about how individuals were motivated to make it like exceptional. And I kept pushing back, saying, no, it's just like anything else. It's just the ideas as a whole's being ravaged. It doesn't need individuals. This is not a story of individuals. This is about collective consciousness in a place. Taking an idea forward. It's not about Matthew Brown or Neil McEnroy or anyone. It's like the fact that we just come out, let's try and do something. And then a whole hundreds, thousands of people got involved. You know, it's a kind of consciousness rather than a hardship, somebody say we need to do something different and then that person leading it. That's just a very neoliberal way of thinking about it.
It is, A, because it's so individuated and kind of atomised, and obviously it plays into like a journalist's instinct to kind of personify a story.
There is that too.
But I agree with the political angle as well, because I think it also, the idea being that those kind of questions which try and personalise it, try and personify it, are predicated on a notion that the kind of the status quo was just so kind of utterly apparent to everyone that it doesn't really need to be questioned, and it's only when you have a story of complete individual disaster and trauma and someone is metaphorically dragged into the depths that then they look up and see the light and are like, and now we can rebuild something different, as opposed to actually the status quo political economy is in a sort of fairly shambolic way not working for lots of people, and lots of people have been thinking for a long time about how we can make things better.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And not only that, there's lots of things. We stand on the shoulders of many giants who've told us all what we can do. So there's nothing new.
Exactly.
It's just a matter of coalescing it all.
Exactly.
It's interesting in Scotland, where we're working with the Scottish Government to take forward community wealth building. They've made it part of their programme for government in Scotland, so it's actually part of their programme
at a national level.
At a national level. And so, speaking to the Scottish Government, the first conversations, I've been speaking on it for about a year, and it's just about to come to a process that you're enacting some action.
Yeah.
Straight away, all the conversations are, we're doing that in Lancashire. Or we're doing that in Dundee. How does that fit with this thing we're doing? How does it fit with that thing we're doing? It's not new.
No.
What it is actually community wealth building there, local wealth building there, is something that's actually a portmanteau that fits many other things they're doing anyway. So it's actually a different sort of thing. Whereas in England, I don't think it was.
No.
You know, I think it was something that was like, there was no enabling policy environments or no really enabling stuff. Well, there was, but not quite to the extent of in Scotland. Do you know what I mean?
And I mean, in that spirit, so you mentioned Scotland, we talked about Preston before, in terms of what people call the Preston model and so on, how much interest have you had from, I know you're already working with other local authorities, I know your colleague was saying you're working with Islington in London, which is where I live, and I'm sure all the local authorities you're working with is different things that they're doing with you depending on the place. But just give me an idea of how much interest is out there in the kind of work that you're doing, and also does it tend to come primarily from Labour councils, or is there interest beyond that as well?
I think there's a lot of interest because obviously the press there is a lot of interest, and I think it's the 100% most of the interest is driven by a sense of a realisation that the economy is not working very well for most people. Brexit puts a whole range, a new lens of uncertainty. How do we create some certainty in terms of outcomes? There's an easy recognition there's lots of wealth around, but it doesn't hit the right spots or the right people. So there's a lot of demand in the very notion that we need to think differently about wealth and who gets it and who benefits and where it goes. Banks, from the GFC banks, Philip Green, a whole range of stuff, people not paying right tax, a whole range of stuff has just created a consciousness around we can make the economy better. There's some problem about wealth. What is all this local wealth building bit about? So there's that big thing. In terms of people coming towards us, we're now working, it's worth just noting them. So Preston, I'll go from the sort of geographically, Preston, Wakefield, Kirklees, Calderdale, Oldham, Bury, Manchester, Birmingham, Islington, Southampton, Wirral, Wigan, Scottish Government, Sandwell. These are all areas that are working. Most of them are working, or will probably will be working. And all those 5 or 6 things I mentioned earlier, they've all got different strains in terms of how they're thinking about wealth. Some of them are going big for the procurement stuff. So that would be a big one for Bury. Bury. Bury, this one in this area. Bury. It's all about procurement. They think they've got a brilliant small business base in Bury, really very elevated in small businesses, thinking, we're not sure we're spending our money very well as a council, and we need to get those other anchors, Bury College, to think about their own spending. So it's a lot about procurement there. Not so much about workforce, not so much land property investments, not so much about municipal energy or co-ops. It's mostly procurement. Islington, they've done a lot of stuff on their procurement. Yeah, they don't have many big. It's a London economy. It's difficult to think about anchors because what could Emirates Stadium do? That's, it's difficult. Hobart Hospital, whatever it is.
I was actually born at Barts Hospital. My little brother was born at Homerton Hospital.
Yeah.
But in a major metropolis, a local authority like that, which is just one